Doctor, if you say so, I'll give it a try.
What's up, docs and docettes? It's Trevor Thompson here, the self-appointed Looney Tunes Critic, and right off the bat, I want to apologize if there's some excess background noise here with me. It is 55 degrees here in Georgia on this lovely Thanksgiving day, and it is just pissing down rain. Pardon my French. Get it? Dow Jones, Dow Freeling, as in Chuck Jones, as in the Dow Jones. Anyway, I'm looking at my app right now, my phone app, the weather app, and it is going to be raining until at least 2 p.m. So I apologize if the rain noise bothers you. If you're a goth, though, it's second nature to you, and you're like, "Oh, this is fine. This is moody. Okay, cool." Anyway, let's just get right into it. This I've been told I swear a little too much, so let me get this out of the way. This special fucking stinks, despite the amazing June Foray.
I eating like crazy lately is some big emptiness I try to fill. Thanksgiving coming is going to be worse.
I really do think that's taken from like a Robert McKimson either piece of animation or that first drawing is from one of the McKimson shorts where Millicent is in it, because she looks really good there at the beginning in terms of being on model. She looks really good in terms of being a position there. You know what I'm saying, fellas? Chubby chasers out there unite. But this is the great June Foray, and one of the few cartoons where she, or not cartoons, but projects where she gets some major credit for doing what she did. She in the original shorts, like this one here, Rabbit Every Monday. In the original shorts, only Mel got credit, but this is one of those things that one of the few good things about it is that she gets credit for it. A lot of people know that she did radio, but I found something really cool recently that she did fairly recently. It was an internet radio show that has been around since 2004 called The Radio Adventures of Dr. Floyd. She was in episode 501, Ballot Bandits, and it originally went out on Sunday, September 3rd, 2017. And this is her portrayal on that show of Susan B. Anthony.
Susan B. Anthony, who has just come out the front door.
Good morning, Sisters of Freedom.
Morning, Susan.
Are you all ready to make history?
Absolutely, yes, I am.
As you know, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution says that all people born in the United States are citizens.
Yes, you said it.
It also says that all citizens are entitled to the privileges of citizenship, and one of those privileges is voting.
You said it. Yes.
This is June Foray, and you're listening to the Radio Adventures of Dr. Floyd.
Speaking of radio, and Miss June, the lovely Miss June, rest in peace, is she did, I'd say they published it this year, but I think it was a few years ago. She did an interview for the Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters. If you know who they are, good for you. I don't know who they are. I do know this, though, before I get into that particular... I have two clips from that, but before I play them, I want to acknowledge something here about Rabbit Every Monday, or which is what this cartoon is. It eventually it falls into that trap that a lot of the paste-ups deal with, which is they have to change something to remain current, but it sticks out like a sore thumb, the changes they made, because in a minute what's going to happen is that Bugs is going to get in that oven, and the gag is that there's a party going on in there, and there's live action footage and stuff, but it's all of the time. It's all of the 50s, I think 57, something like that. Now it's all dialogue, new dialogue, and the music is a lot more timely, which is that this special came out in 1979. So when he sticks his head out again here, you hear new Mel Blanc and disco music.
Start roasting.
Got a bottle opener, Mac? Thanks.
Then we go back to the original. Then he comes out again with new.
Gotta have some cracked ice and a few more chairs.
Now, this is the original dialogue from the cartoon, but Mel is redoing it because they can't separate it from the Carl Stalling original music.
If you can't scare up a few more ashtrays, kiddo, huh?
And you can hear how different Mel's voice is when Bugs comes back out.
Coming in, Mac. The girls have been asking for you.
You can just hear, the years of smoking in his voice and the hospital. He's been in and out of hospital at least once at this point.
Ready and raring to go.
Same with Sam.
Hey, girls, the life of the party is here. Imagine him falling for a gag like that.
Right away, you can hear it. The voice is so different. So they're, 20 years younger. But anyway, it's just sometimes I wonder why. I mean, Greg Ford argued. Oh, that's the shot right there. In focus, live action vagina. That's why you have it, folks. Crotch shots. I mean, if you have a little bit of money to spend, why spend it making the animation look good and live up to the original stuff when you can have low-angle, upskirt crotch shots to bad disco music? If you're going to spend the money, spend it smartly, I say, right? Ugh. Oh, my God. There's just so much about this not to like. I'm with you, Pez. I'm with you. I get why you didn't want to do this commentary with me. But we got to get back to and her radio stuff because, as I was saying, she did an interview with the Pacific Pioneer broadcasters as they segue into this Coyote and Roadrunner montage, which, by the way, there's a bunch of different cartoons. I'll list them later, but there's a bunch of these different cartoons that just look completely different because of the time, and they try to cut them together like it's one long continuous thing, and it's really lame. Anyway, Pacific Pioneer broadcasters, this is June talking about, we all know she has a radio career, but did you know, guys, that she wrote scripts too? Yes. Well, she mentions that here in this interview.
Did you ever do anything for Armed Forces Radio during the war or
Yes.
after? Tom Lewis?
Well, I appeared, it was the theater on Vine Street when they had the live shows, and Jerry Lewis and Danny Kaye would be doing their shows, and the writers always had me as one of the foils, and it was fun to do.
Oh, bad.
Yeah. It's strange about the Lady Maple Leaf stories. We had the earthquake in 1994, and I live in Woodland Hills, and it was very close to the Northridge the quake area. Everything fell off and broke. But I was going into my garage, and there were scripts on the floor, and I thought they were my husband's scripts. They were my Lady Make-Believe scripts.
You still have them?
Yes.
Oh, my.
And I reread them. I loved them. I recorded 6, and I sent them to Ted Turner, and he bought them for $10,000.
For heaven's sake. Wow. Aren't you glad you kept those?
Yeah, when I didn't get anything for it, But when Turner was bought by Warner's and AOL bought Warner's, they didn't want them. So I called Atlanta and I said, could I have my scripts back? And they said, you'll have to wait for 2 more years until the option is up. I did, and now I own them again.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did you write them in longhand or type them? How did you originally do them?
I had a type. I wrote them in longhand and then I typed
them up.
Yeah.
So this guy, I don't know that he did his research necessarily when he interviewed June, because he literally asks her if she ever worked with Mel Blanc.
Somebody said that you were the female Mel Blanc. And then another person said, no, Mel Blanc was the male June Foray.
Chuck Jones said that.
Did he say that?
Chuck was the one. It embarrasses me because Mel was so talented.
Did you ever work with Mel?
Oh, I did 39 short films with him at Warner Brothers.
Did you really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had never met Mel before. But the first time when I did Broomstick Bunny in 1955 or 56, that's when I first met Mel.
For heaven's sake.
And then I did 39 shows.
For heaven's sake. For heaven's sake. For heaven's sake. You'd think I would do the homework. For heaven's sake. I'm sorry. I shouldn't make fun, but I do, and I don't care that it bothers people that I do. Anyway, it is raining like an SOB right now, so I apologize for that noise. Anyway, that montage of the Roadrunner stuff that looked very, very different was Stop, Look, and Hasten, Guided Muscle, Zip, Zip, Hooray, and Beep, Beep. And that clip we just saw was from Tweet Dreams. I forget what there's some more stuff coming up in this little segment of Sylvester that they do. They pick some good stuff, but again, it doesn't really, I mean, they don't really care that it doesn't flow. It's you see stuff from Two Hop to Handle and Sandy Claus and Birds Anonymous, my favorite Sylvester and Tweety cartoon ever. Freudy Cat, Canned Feud. So, you know, then there's there's just, it doesn't feel, I mean, let me just talk a little bit, if I may, about the Dave DeTeege, Hal Geer era of this. And if I'm going to be catty, get it, because it's a cat sequence. The first thing that I heard when I did some digging with my friends in the industry, as it were, who choose to remain nameless, word around the campfire was, back in these days, Hal Geer was a somewhat vocal anti-Semite, which is weird that he worked so closely with Frizz. You know, and Frizz would have certainly been around, it being DFE, and also when he was at WB. And I really can't verify this beyond what the person who studied under these old guys insisted, but they probably wouldn't make such a thing up if they didn't have a reason to back it up. Anyway, Geer, he produced a lot of the worst looking stuff for Warner Brothers and with DFE, which is not DFE, it's DePatie Freeling Enterprises. So there's some names on this thing that should get some credit, because I'm gonna get into them in a bit, because Hal Geer, he was one of those people that he acted as a sort of a caretaker in the WB cartoon division during a long period when there wasn't a lot going on, not a lot of stuff that was of importance. Like even if you consider stuff like the Chuck Jones's Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie and the Frizz's Looney Bugs Bunny movie, if you consider those good, well, that's fine, but that wasn't really being done at Warner's. So, and his name is on some of the weakest stuff ever done at WB. He lived to be about 100 or 100, and he was I think his history is that he was a film editor. Interesting to note, this was at a weird time when film editors seemed to be the guys that ran studios, because Joe Ruby and Ken Spears were film editors, and they ran Ruby Spears in the 80s. And I think
Lou Scheimer,
the dreaded Filmation, had been a former film editor. But there's another name that I couldn't get much information about that you see on these things, William L. Hendricks. He was executive in charge of animation at this time. I think he's somehow tied to the Toys for Tots toy drive. And the other thing I didn't really get into is a Dave DeTeege, which is how I imagined Bugs Bunny would say it. Oh yeah, Doc, that's Dave DeTeege. He was kind of a story man for Frizz. By the way, this is Canned Feud, one of the funniest Sylvester cartoons ever. Just because of this mouse. This mouse is a f***ing asshole. I love this mouse. This is a great cartoon. Anyway, but Dave the Teeny Doc, he was kind of the workhorse for Frizz. He must have been, because otherwise Frizz wouldn't have depended on him so much. So was Artley and Artie, but Artley and Artie did not work on this. But speaking of people who did work on this, let's go look at that first credit title card. There's a guy there, Jack Enyart. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a well-known Saturday morning cartoon writer whose main career happened in the late 1970s when this was made, and early 1980s. He was once writing partner of the late Gordon Kent, but went solo around the time that Gordon became a sheet timer some 2 decades ago. Some people call the time of Who Framed Roger Rabbit the Silver Age and of animation. And at that time, Jack started to call himself Man About Toon. I guess riding on the coattails of Roger Rabbit. He apparently is he's teaching cartoon writing online, which is kind of selling himself short, because by all accounts he's actually a very talented caricaturist. I couldn't find any of his drawings online though in time. But let's move along down the line here. Chuck Harvey. Chuck is an experienced key. There you go. There's some new Mel Blanc for you. He's a key character layout artist and animator. He worked at Disney. He actually also worked on in the early days of Tiny Toon Adventures. Much did Artley and Artie. He worked the earliest months of what would become Warner Brothers Television Animation, and I think he may be retired now. Tom Ray. I say that with a modicum of disdain, not just by the fact that this cartoon is now. Well, now it's good because it's switched to the McKimson in a very weird way, where Bugs is supposed to be reading this thing, and he's in the jungle all of a sudden. It's weird. Anyway, Tom Ray, but it's a good-looking McKimson cartoon, so who can complain? Not me. No, not me. Tom Ray was an assistant animator at MGM in the 1950s, promoted to animator eventually, and then he worked with Chuck Jones in the 60s on a lot of those projects Chuck was doing. One of the problems with Tom is that when he got older, he kind of lost the timing and the quickness, and he actually the only jobs that he could really get at the end were timing exposure X sheets, which he also kind of lost the ability for, because he did the if you remember in Gremlins 2, all that stuff with the intro and Chuck and Bugs and Daffy on the Warner Brothers Shield, that's actually all Ray. Chuck took the blame for it, but he directed and timed all that stuff. Now, let me just say here, there's a name here, Norm McCabe. If you guys don't know who Norm McCabe is, oh my goodness. Norm is probably the oldest guy here. By the way, they're cutting around from cartoon to cartoon, because this cartoon has clips. That was a clip of Devil May Hare within Bedeviled Rabbit. I don't know if people actually noticed that, but the background changes for that one shot. Anyway, Norm McCabe worked at Termite Terrace. He directed some cartoons. He didn't really have the ability to do it, really. By the way, we're gonna pod this up so you guys can hear the new Mel Blanc footage to accommodate the plot.
Toss a mean salad. But any real gourmet knows you just don't serve rabbit at Thanksgiving. You serve wild turkey surprise.
Wild turkey surprise?
Too bad I'm all tied up, or I'd cook you up a batch.
Yeah, maybe they could have sped him up a little bit there. Who knows? But anyway, Norm McCabe, actually, he probably worked the longest because he actually worked at Warner Brothers TV Animation in the 90s. He worked on Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, actually. Sonia Ruta. She was a middle-aged female European animator on staff at Filmation. Sorry about that, Sonia. And around 78 until 81, so she probably did this while working at Filmation. She also went by the name Sonia Rutova, perhaps in her native country. She also worked on Heavy Traffic as an assistant animator, and she worked on a West German production, Die Konferenz des Tiere, produced, which is probably not how you pronounce it at all, produced in 1969. At the bottom there, it says Tiger West. His name is Robert Tiger West. Though he's credited here as an animator, he was for years credited on Hanna-Barbera Productions as the head of the xerography department. And by the way, if you want more information about that, watch my video on Tom Minton and Toby Danger talking about Johnny Quest and xerography. Anyway, Tiger West, not Quest, was a guy. He did a lot of different areas of animation throughout his career. He probably did a bit of everything. Whatever, for whatever studio he was working for. If you look at his IMDb page, it is quite an interesting. It's just really amazing. He acted in silent films as an infant. He was an assistant animator at Disney in the 40s. Later assisted on the MGM Tom and Jerry shorts, which is probably where he met Bill and Joe, who would later hire him at their studio at Hanna-Barbera. Ruby Spears, DFE. He received the local 839 Golden Award for having worked at least 50 years in the animation field. And lastly, here at the bottom, it says the Richard Williams credit. It's just, I can't find anything about this guy. It's not Richard Williams from Roger Rabbit and Thief and the Cobbler and all that stuff. But he may have been an animator at Disney in the early 30s. That's the only thing I can really find out. But Tiger West was said.
After all, for this show, we need...
Bit of a pill popper, kind of an alcohol abuser, but I can't confirm or deny that, really. Anyway, I'm going to end on that note. He said to his fans who were not thankful at all for him, but if you are, go to our Patreon page. Let me just put it that way. I'll hawk us out there. And I'm thankful for all of you. This is the first Thanksgiving thing I've done. I didn't do one last year or the year before. So here it is. It's overdue.